Imagine you just completed a massive $30,000 roofing job.
Oh, right, the absolute dream scenario for a contractor.
Exactly. The crew is packing up, the property is spotless, the client is, absolutely thrilled, and the house looks gorgeous.
You feeling good?
You're feeling great. You send the final bill, fully expecting to celebrate a job well done, and then nothing.
Just crickets.
Just crickets. The client stops returning your calls, or, worse, they reply with a long, confused email questioning like 3 different line items.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
It does. So why does this happen? Today, we are looking at the exact moment businesses drop the ball.
It's an incredibly common illusion in business.
Right. The idea that the moment a client signed the contract, you have somehow crossed the finish line.
It is a really dangerous illusion. You get that signature, you mentally check the job off your list, and you assume the hard part is over.
Because you won the job.
Exactly. But the cold, hard reality of running a business is that a signature on a proposal does not pay your payroll.
Right. Cash flow does.
Cash flow. And the gap between finishing the physical work and actually depositing the check,
Yeah.
that is where so many companies completely lose control.
Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We are pulling from some incredibly detailed source material, operational documents and curriculum from RoofCommand CRM Academy.
Great stuff in there.
Yeah, specifically, we are examining their deep dive into the roofing invoice system.
Right.
Our mission today is to deconstruct exactly how high-level contractors take a signed, completed job and turn it into actual cash in the bank.
Through bulletproof systems, documentation, and real financial control.
Exactly.
And while our sources are firmly planted in the high-stakes world of roofing contractors, I want to be clear that the mechanics we are going to explore, they apply to you no matter what industry you are in.
Oh, 100%.
Whether you're building custom software or, running a freelance graphic design agency.
Or managing a large catering company.
Right. If your business requires you to quote a job, execute the work, and then collect payment, the underlying friction is exactly the same.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Okay.
because setting the scene is crucial here. Before we even talk about how to build a perfect invoice, we have to understand why this specific moment, the billing phase, is so incredibly vulnerable.
It really is.
I was reading through the source material, and it struck me that roofing isn't just, slapping some shingles on a house.
Not at all. I mean, it is a massive construction project disguised as a consumer retail purchase.
That's a great way to put it.
Think about the complexity of what is actually happening. You aren't just selling a product off a shelf.
Right.
You are navigating massive ticket sizes, managing initial deposits, and often dealing with incredibly complex insurance claims.
Where the insurance company is basically dictating what they will and won't pay for.
Exactly.
And then the environment itself is totally unpredictable, right? I mean, it's not a controlled factory floor.
Precisely. You have fluctuating material costs that change week to week. You have intricate labor coordination that gets completely derailed if it, rains for 3 days.
Oh, yeah, the weather factor.
And the source material highlights 2 very specific industry realities: supplements and change orders.
Let me stop you there, because if you are not in construction, those terms might sound like just accounting jargon.
It's fair boy.
Can we break those down a bit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So a change order happens when reality conflicts with the original plan.
Okay.
Let's say the crew tears off the old roof and discovers the plywood underneath is completely rotted out.
Oh, wow.
Right? You can't just put new shingles over rot. The original plan is out the window, and you now have to charge the homeowner for new plywood and the labor to install it.
Which obviously alters the final price.
It does. Now, a supplement is similar, but it usually involves the insurance company.
Okay. How's that?
It's when the contractor has to go back to the insurer and prove that the initial estimate just wasn't enough to cover the actual current cost of materials.
Or maybe like required local building codes.
Exactly.
It sounds like winning the race but dropping the baton literally 2 feet before the finish line. You work so hard to get the job, and then boom, chaos.
That is exactly what it is. It's a highly dynamic, stressful environment.
So by the time the job is actually finished, the final numbers might look quite different from that initial conversation you had at the kitchen table.
Very different. And what's fascinating here is that a weak invoicing process takes all that unavoidable construction stress and turns it into a completely unnecessary crisis.
Oh, totally.
Put yourself in the homeowner's shoes for a second. The hammering is finally stopped. There's a beautiful new roof over their head.
They're probably feeling like a mix of relief and a little bit of financial anxiety, right? Because they're about to part with a huge amount of money.
Exactly. Their expectations of you are at their absolute peak right then.
And that is the exact moment the company needs to look its absolute most professional.
Right. But if the final invoice is delayed by a week, or if it arrives and it's super confusing, it instantly creates psychological friction.
Which delays your cash flow.
It delays cash flow, but more importantly, it burns down the trust you just spent weeks building with that client.
Let's talk about how that trust burns down, because the source material outlines the anatomy of a billing disaster, and it honestly gave me secondhand stress just reading it.
Oh, it's brutal.
We are talking about contractors out there relying on totally manual, disconnected billing methods.
The friction of manual entry is the silent killer of profit margins.
I really want to paint a picture of this because the Academy documents detail these mistakes so vividly.
Yeah, go for it.
Imagine a contractor sitting at their kitchen table at like 11 p.m. They're tired.
Exhausted.
Right. They open up an Excel spreadsheet where they track their costs, and then they open up a blank Word document to create an invoice totally from scratch.
A recipe for disaster.
It is. They are manually typing in the customer's name, the address, copying and pasting the line items from the original proposal.
Trying to remember if they added that change order for the rotted wood.
Exactly. It is just a breeding ground for typos.
It really is.
Mhm.
And the source material zeroes in on the two most damaging outcomes of that manual chaos.
What are they?
The first is sending an invoice that does not match the original proposal. And the second is mixing internal job costs with the homeowner's bill.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting, because manual billing chaos isn't just an administrative annoyance, right? It fundamentally weakens trust. But I do want to push back on that first point for a second.
Don't push back.
Let's say I make a mistake. I copy and paste something poorly and a line item looks a little different, or maybe I forget to list the deposit they already paid.
Right.
If the homeowner knows the general price we agreed on, is a typo really going to evaporate their trust? Isn't it just, an annoyance?
It is far more than an annoyance because of the psychological state of the buyer.
Okay, tell me more.
At the moment of payment, buyer's remorse is actively looking for an excuse to kick in.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
If you agreed to a $20,000 roof, and 2 weeks later, you get a bill that says $22,000 with no clear explanation of that wood rot change order we discussed earlier.
Your brain just hits the brakes.
Exactly. Or, as you mentioned, if the terminology is suddenly totally different from the proposal, the client doesn't assume it's an innocent typo.
Right.
They assume you were trying to pull a fast one.
They immediately go on the defensive.
Exactly. Their immediate reaction is to stop, withhold payment, and demand a full audit of the project.
So a simple typo just cost you 3 weeks of cash flow.
Yes, because now you have to set up a phone call, explain the error, reissue the document, and wait for them to feel comfortable enough to actually write the check.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around the solution here. If the mismatch between the proposal and the invoice is the main problem,
Right.
why do we even need an invoice?
What do you mean?
Well, if I already sat down with the homeowner, we agreed on the scope, and they signed a proposal saying the roof costs $20,000. Why create a whole new document?
Ah.
Why can't the contractor just send a text saying, hey, we finished the roof, please send the 20 grand from the proposal?
This raises an important question about the distinct operational roles of these business documents.
Yeah.
The Academy source material draws a very hard line here.
Okay.
A proposal is a sales tool. An invoice is a financial tool.
Walk me through that difference.
A proposal is designed to sell the job. It might have options, good, better, best shingle choices.
Right, like a menu.
Exactly. It might have marketing language about your warranties. It is an invitation to do business.
And the invoice.
An invoice formalizes the payment requests for the work that was actually completed. It strips away the marketing and just presents the hard financial facts.
It's a financial handoff.
Yes, beautifully put. It bridges the completed work and your actual profitability.
Got it.
While the invoice absolutely must be consistent with the approved proposal to avoid that defensive reaction from the client.
Right, to keep them from panicking.
It serves a much more rigid operational function.
The sources gave us a really fantastic breakdown of what needs to be on this document. Let's look at the anatomy of a perfect invoice.
Let's do it.
And not just as a checklist, but why these elements actually prevent disputes. First, you need the obvious. Clarity of identity, customer name, property address, unique invoice number, and the invoice date.
But then comes a critical administrative anchor, The due date.
Right, because without a due date, it's not a bill, it's just a suggestion.
Exactly.
If you don't tell them when the money is due, you really can't be mad when they decide to pay you, like, next month.
True.
Next, the document needs a clear job description and the approved scope of work.
This is where you prevent the "I thought that was included" argument.
Oh, that's the worst argument to have.
It really is. Whether you use detailed line items or a highly clear summary, the client needs to see exactly what they are paying for.
And it needs to map directly back to what they signed on that original proposal.
Exactly.
Then you hit them with the math. The total amount due, and critically, a clear line showing any initial deposits or payments already received from them or their insurance company.
Right.
Then the remaining balance. You are leaving zero ambiguity.
And finally, explicit payment instructions.
Yes.
You would be amazed how many businesses send a bill but don't clearly state how to actually pay it.
It's so common.
Do you want a physical check mailed to a specific P.O. box? Is there a secure digital payment link?
Right.
Plus, you need your company contact info, all wrapped up in clean, professional branding.
It sounds so basic when we talk about it out loud, just tell them what they owe and how to pay it.
It does.
But executing that perfectly without typos on every single job while managing crews and weather delays, that is what separates a professional operation from a chaotic one.
Having a perfectly designed invoice is a great first step, but it is completely useless if it sits on your desk for 2 weeks before the client actually sees it.
That brings us to execution. And the source material is incredibly insistent on speed.
Speed is everything.
When a homeowner approves a job, or when the production crew finishes hammering that last nail, the contractor must move fast. Delayed billing creates immediate friction.
It does, but I want to address a common hesitation here.
Actually, I have a hesitation about this too.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I am the homeowner and I see the crew's trucks driving away, and literally 5 minutes later my phone buzzes with an invoice, doesn't that feel a bit aggressive?
I hear that a lot.
Like the company doesn't care about the quality of the work, they just want my money.
It is a fair pushback, but we have to look at the psychology of the transaction again.
Okay.
Think of it like a high-end restaurant experience. You have an amazing meal, great service, a wonderful evening.
Right.
When you finish eating and you are ready to leave, you want the check right then.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy.
Right.
I hate waiting for the check when I'm ready to go.
Right. If the waiter ignores you for 20 minutes, the incredible meal is overshadowed by the annoyance of being held hostage at the table.
You're just sitting there agitated.
Exactly. When the roofing job is done, the client is ready to conclude the transaction. They want closure.
That makes total sense.
Sending the invoice quickly but professionally capitalizes on that momentum. It isn't aggressive. It shows that your back office is just as efficient as your production crew.
Wow. Yeah.
But sending it quickly is only half the battle.
Because once it's sent, you have to actually know what is happening to it. The source dives deeply into the absolute necessity of systematized payment tracking.
If you are relying on your memory or like a pile of papers on your dashboard, you are flying blind.
Totally blind.
A real business needs a system to track the exact status of an invoice at any given microsecond.
And the statuses they list in the Academy docs are super specific. You need to know, is this invoice currently just a draft?
Right.
Has it actually been sent? Is it sitting there unpaid?
Or has it been partially paid?
Yes. Like if it's been partially paid by the insurance company, but the homeowner still owes their deductible?
Exactly.
Or is it fully paid, overdue, or canceled entirely?
Without visibility into those exact statuses, an owner or an office manager just cannot function.
Right. How could you?
If you don't know the status, you can't set up automated reminders, and you have no follow-up protocols. You are essentially just doing $30,000 worth of work and hoping a check eventually shows up in the mail.
And hope is a terrible business strategy.
Truly the worst.
Now, as we talk about tracking all these different financial pieces, the discussion naturally leads to a vital distinction in the source material.
Yes, the firewall.
Exactly, the firewall. The difference between what the business needs to track and what the customer actually needs to see.
This is where so many contractors trip up when they try to get detailed with their billing.
So what does this firewall actually look like? It means keeping homeowner-facing invoices strictly separate from your internal job costing.
Very separate.
The homeowner should only see that clean, professional, simple invoice we just built. They should absolutely not see your internal gross margin.
Never.
They shouldn't see your labor costs, what you paid for raw materials at the supply house, or the sales commission you paid to the rep who sold the roof.
I want to build on your restaurant analogy from earlier because it fits perfectly here.
Oh, for it.
The invoice, the document the customer sees, is the front of the house. Job costing is the kitchen.
Yes. I love this. When I sit in the dining room, I get a beautifully designed menu, a great meal, and a clean bill at the end that just says, like, steak, $45.
Right.
The waiter never brings me a receipt showing what the restaurant paid their meat supplier.
No, they don't.
They don't show me the dishwasher's hourly wage on my final bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The front of house presentation must be flawless, simple, and appetizing. But, and this is the critical part for business owners, we connect this to the bigger picture. If the executive chef in the kitchen doesn't know exactly what those raw ingredients cost or what the line cooks are being paid,
The restaurant goes out of business.
exactly, no matter how full the dining room is.
The invoice tells you what revenue should come in, but job costing tells you whether that specific job actually made you any money.
Yes. A serious operation must internally link the revenue from that clean front-of-house invoice to the gritty back-of-house hard costs.
So you have to track the material costs, the labor for the crew, the fees you paid to subcontractors,
Municipal permits,
the dumpster disposal fees, and those sales commissions.
all of it.
Which sounds incredibly complicated to do manually without making a mistake.
It's nearly impossible.
Pulling all these threads together, the Academy materials point toward an ultimate goal for contractors, which is achieving true business control and the ability to scale.
Right.
And they make a subtle but really important point about modern connected systems.
The problem with the manual 11 p.m. kitchen table routine
Mhm.
isn't just that it's tiring, it's that the data is completely siloed.
Right. They specifically mention platforms like RoofCommand CRM. And reading through it, it doesn't feel like a product plug. It feels like an absolute operational necessity.
Oh, it is.
Because if you have a separate software for your estimates, a different software for your accounting, and a random Excel spreadsheet for your job costing...
Those systems don't talk to each other.
They don't.
And every time data has to jump from one silo to another,
Right.
from an estimate to a contract, from a contract to an invoice, it requires human intervention.
Right.
And human intervention means friction, delays, and errors.
Modern companies thrive when everything is connected in one unified ecosystem.
Yes.
From the very first moment a lead calls your office to the physical inspection, the initial estimate, and the signed proposal.
It should all flow together.
Exactly. All of that data should flow seamlessly into your purchase orders for materials, your internal job costing for the kitchen, the sales commissions.
And finally, it should auto-generate that perfect, error-free final invoice.
That unified approach is the dividing line between a contractor who is basically just self-employed and stressed out and a business owner who is actually scaling an enterprise.
Exactly. It is what transitions a company from operating on pure guesswork, hoping there's money left in the checking account at the end of the month,
Right.
to operating with absolute financial discipline.
Mm.
When your systems are unified, you know exactly where every dollar is and why it is there.
Let's summarize the core journey we've taken today. Turning signed contracts into actual deposited cash requires a highly intentional process.
It does.
It requires formalizing the ask with a dedicated invoice that leaves no room for confusion.
Right.
It means moving with speed to capture the client's momentum. It demands tracking every single payment status meticulously so nothing falls through the cracks.
Absolutely.
And it requires building a strict firewall that separates your complex internal profitability metrics from the clean, simple bill the customer sees.
It is about protecting the financial health of the business while simultaneously serving the client at the highest level.
Yeah.
And, as a final thought for you to mull over today, consider this perspective.
Okay.
We've spent our time talking about the invoice as a rigid financial tool, a way to protect cash flow and track your profit.
Right.
But zoom out for a second. The invoice is the absolute final touch point of a massive, stressful transaction for a customer.
Wow, yeah.
It is the last piece of communication they will receive from you.
So it's actually a marketing document.
Exactly. How does the clarity, the speed, and the professionalism of that single piece of paper implicitly shape their willingness to trust you?
Right.
How does it influence their decision to hire you again in 10 years? Or, more importantly, to refer you to their neighbor tomorrow?
It is the lasting impression you leave them with. It is how you ensure that the applause continues long after the work is done.
Perfectly said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are running a roofing company or building out systems in a totally different industry, take a hard look at your own post-signature processes this week.
Find the friction.
Find the friction, eliminate the guesswork, and see where you can turn chaos into absolute control.